Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to the DCS news stream. I hope that you all enjoyed that, the latest F-16 tutorial, all about the WMD-7 targeting pod. Next week, actually, I'm gonna ask you all for some feedback. There's two different ways we could go. There's two different ways we could go. We can either do laser-guided bombs using that pod, or we can take a little look at the ground, the air-to-ground modes of the radar and how you can use them in combination with the other sensors. So, do you guys want to see things go boom, or do you want to see more advanced avionics and sensors? I'll leave it up to you all. Welcome to the stream, Storm Kimbari, and welcome Tog, and welcome Channel Right. Nice to have you all aboard. But yes, we'll have a little chat about that later. We'll see what people want to see next week. I'm kind of split. I don't know whether to do laser-guided bombs or air-to-ground radar. We'll see. But without any further ado, everybody, let's go to the main event. Welcome, dotChuckles, and welcome all of you to the DCS news stream.
Welcome. Hello. Yes, it's Saturday again, and we're here to talk inaccurate nonsense.
Oh, inaccurate nonsense. My favorite kind.
Yeah. Because I very rarely tell you anything that's not at least mildly inaccurate or poorly understood.
Well, I don't know how much I want to say about that. I was going to draw comparisons to certain other YouTube channels, but I'm holding myself back, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. The difference is I admit it. I put the disclaimer out there right up front.
Immediately. Welcome to the stream fair. I was asking chat what we should do. Well, what I should do next week for the next Jeff tutorial. I know you don't care, but which is fair enough. I was offering them that we can use the targeting pod that I've just demonstrated to actually drop some boom, or we can demonstrate the air to ground modes of the radar, of which there are many.
Everybody always wants the boom, so you know, just give him the D. Go on.
Welcome to the stream, Stevie B, and yes, so everyone's saying hi. So in any case, let's start the stream as we often do with the Eagle Dynamics newsletter, the weekly news. This week they've been talking about the channel map a lot, and I think the thing they're noting, last week they were saying, hey, it's final, it's released now, and this week they're saying, hey, it's in the stable release. But you know, that's just that they moved it from one release to another, so that's not too exciting. But the thing that is kind of exciting is they're progressing well, apparently, with the H-64D's Hydra rocket system, Hail Hydra. And
Hail Hydra.
It's in the final stage of completion. I'm not going to do the salute. 19 high explosive smoke or illumination rockets can be loaded into each pod, and up to 4 pods can be mounted on the stub wings. That's a lot of boom that you can bring. And then they ask us to check out the video, which we already actually played in last week's stream. Welcome, Dave, to the stream.
And I know they're talking about. Did they mention it here? I don't think they mention it. They have talked elsewhere about adding things like flechette rounds and the MPSM and all that kind of stuff.
They do mention it in the newsletter, and what they say is it won't be there day one.
Yeah. So it's gonna come along. I mean, the flechette rounds are nasty. So basically, each flechette, it's got the same ballistic characteristics as a 5.562 round, except it releases like about 1,000 of them. in a shotgun kind of blat, and it makes people go away. So it is a nasty thing. So you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. Yeah,
certainly not. That's going to be way worse than your buddy accidentally shooting you with a shotgun while you're hunting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're not coming back from that. Yeah, I mean that video that dropped last week, right in the middle of Death Blossom. Yes, the Rockets video dropped right in the middle of our stream. So Everybody keep refreshing the ED news because it gave us great content to talk about.
Hello, Matt.
So
Matt, are you there? Can you hear us, Matt?
I know he watches. I know Matt Wagner watches. Like he of course he watches. So Matt, just go and push the send button. I don't know if he watches or not. He doesn't even know we exist.
I seriously hope he watches, but I sadly doubt that he watches.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, one question I had. I wonder if you know this. What is MPSM? Multi-purpose something?
Submunition.
Ooh. Okay, that also sounds awful.
Yeah, multi-purpose submunition. I think. Quick to Google.
I'm not gonna Google on stream just in case something unwanted appears.
Hang on. I'm pretty sure it's multi-purpose submunition.
Okay.
Yeah, the Hydra 70. Okay. Let's see where we can find. See this quality content you only get from us. You can. Yeah, there we are. Multi-purpose submunition. So it basically it contains 9 M73 grenade submunitions. So
Ouchie.
Yeah.
That's
gonna suck. that is really gonna suck. So yeah, there we go. That's what MPSM is.
That's what MPSM is. Moving on, in the most recent Viper update, adjustments have been made to the angle of attack and G-loading aspect of the flight model. The F-16 Viper sustained rates now more closely match reference data across all airspeeds, altitudes. Well, they say all altitudes, and then further down they say only up to 20,000 feet. But anyway, they say they're continuing to work on it for the above 20,000 feet stuff. So that's fair enough, though. It's nice to see that they're working on that. And I wonder how much of that is flight model and how much of that is the flight control system. Because it's hard to decouple those two in the F-16. But in any case, that's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue it's kind of virtually impossible to decouple it because, I mean, it's ultimately the flight control system that defines how much AOA and G you can pull, and it's like, isn't there like a switchover that at some point it's G limited and then at some point it's AOA limited and stuff like that? Is that right?
That's correct.
Not 100% sure. Yeah.
Like in cruising flight, if I remember correctly, in cruising flight you're normally, with your hands off the controls, it does a G limit. Right. And that's why you have this weird effect in the F-16 that if you roll inverted, it will pull back towards the ground continuously because it's trying to maintain 1G.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's not like it's not super noticeable because I think it has a set range of motion that it can achieve. So it doesn't like obviously full back and try to achieve 1G, but you get a little bit of pulling back if you roll inverted. Which is interesting.
I was just looking at chat. It's just talk saying, God, imagine napalm flechette multi-purpose rounds. Well, can you not load Willie Pete into White Foss into the rockets?
You can, and in fact, those already exist in game. They're
right.
generally used by airborne forward air controllers.
Yeah, it's still White Foss though, so it's nasty.
It's nasty. It's for marking. It's like if the US is ever talking to international treaty organizations, it's for marking targets. We don't shoot people with it.
don't shoot people with our marking targets that have White Foss in it. Yeah. But the thing is you can load. You can load a mix of all the rockets. Like you can slot.
Yes.
The different ones. So in theory, you could just salvo fire your pod with all of that in it. Ew.
I doubt that's done, but it's possible. Yes, it is possible.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty. That's a bad day. That would be a bad day. Sorry, that just derailed my train of thought. Anyway, back to the F-16.
Rockets. Sorry to continue the derailment, but rockets are very much the shotgun of the sky. Because you have all these different purposed rounds that you can load into a shotgun and into a rocket pod, and you can get a lot of very, very interesting effects and combinations.
Yeah, and of course they're not massively accurate. I mean, they are treated as basically airborne artillery. Although I think the Russians have some very accurate rockets that actually use laser guidance and things like that.
Not so sure about the Russians, but well, of course, the US has the APKWS, which is the silliest acronym in the world. You're familiar with that one? The Advanced Probability Kill Weapon System.
Oh God! All right, okay.
Which is a really stupid thing to call a laser rocket. And the Chinese have it. It's available for the JF-17, which just happens to be something I'll be demonstrating later in the tutorial series.
Okay, interesting.
And of course,
Anyway.
the Russians have the Vicar, but it's not laser guided in the same sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Russians have these big fat rockets they've got a laser seeker head on them and things like that. I mean, they're classed as a rocket for some reason and not a missile. So meh.
That actually rings a bell. I'm going to say something that's probably wrong. Is that the S-25? But anyway.
Remember. Yeah, I think so. Somebody has the Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System is the APKWS.
Yeah,
there you go. Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System. And then of course you've got Hellfires with samurai swords attached to them.
Yeah, that's just horrible. That's just horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, and
they don't exist.
They don't
apart
exist.
From the fact that they found the remains of one and gone, look, that's a Hellfire body. It's got fucking knives sticking out of it.
Not nice. Richard made a point in the premiere of the JF-17 video there saying that Western, like Lightning, targeting pods are capable of retaining ground stabilization at much greater ranges than the WMD-7. There's a reason for that, and that's because they have access. I don't know if they have onboard INS or if they use the aircraft's INS, but they're able to do it because of a ground elevation database, which the JF-17 does not have. So it's a little bit more basic.
Right.
So there you go.
Anyway, back to the F-16.
On to the F-16. So, they talk a little bit more about these updates to the flight model. It's pretty much what we just talked about. So things like instantaneous turn rates and so on are now considered accurate up to 20,000 feet. So that's a nice one. We also had a very small open beta update this week. Barely anything to talk about here because it's almost entirely crash to desktop fixes and things like that, which are always good to have. Is there anything that was actually added? In the F-18, static and AI units weren't visible on the air-to-ground radar. That sounds like a pretty big bug.
That's pretty big.
That's pretty big. That's now fixed. So that's nice. It's nice to be able to see your enemy on your radar. But that is pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else that is particularly notable here this week.
I have to admit, the last few weeks, I've just with work craziness, I've not really been keeping my ear to the ground on the forums. I mean, I'm not aware of any massive show-stopping bugs.
It's pretty good generally. Right now, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's still like quite a lot of stuff broken with the F-16, and a couple of things with the Hind, but like they've kind of always been there, and we kind of understood that. Well, I guess reasonable-minded people understood it, because even though the F-16's been out for a long while, like ED acknowledged that it was a bit bungled and it got released, and then they sort of released it and then abandoned it to go and finish the F-18. So like we're aware of why it's in that state, but elsewhere, all the other stuff, the new stuff that's coming out, I am not personally aware of anything that that kills the game, that just breaks it, which has been a state that we've had in the past. So,
and even the clouds, which are still, the clouds are still not what I would consider. Well, yeah, they're definitely not finished, because there's still lots of problems with the clouds with regards to them not blocking line of sight to the types of sensors and so on that they should, and the fact that they're not moving correctly apparently right now. Like they don't really move with the wind like they're supposed to, and the fact that you can't create your own presets yet. So the cloud system is very much like a first pass, but it's still good, and performance is actually pretty good in my opinion. So it's stable even though it's not finished. So it's a pretty good position to be in, I would say. Yeah,
and I mean performance wise as well. I mean, we're supposed to be getting some big things in the near future that is going to improve performance. So
Vulcan.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's been talked about for a really long time, but I think, you know, there is actual movement with it. You know, it is going to happen.
There's a couple of chatter saying that rain doesn't work. I didn't know about that. I've made missions with rain and it worked for me. So, well, what do you mean? What do you mean rain doesn't work?
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is to be honest, like, rain not working, big deal. Like, sorry, I mean, it might be a big thing for you. That's very rude of me. Sorry, apologize. But, I mean, it's not it doesn't stop you employing a weapon system or employing an aircraft or, have your game crash to desktop. That's what I would call game killing. Like, I mean, rain's kind of, like, yes, very nice to have. It's really cool. It can make a situation different, but it's not like, it's not game killing, It's annoying, but it's not game killing.
It's an interesting one. Okay. Vulcan. Didn't they promise Vulcan for this date? I don't think so, Fair. I think at one stage they were suggesting Vulcan might come this year, as in 2022.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's something they're still sticking to.
I can't remember them ever saying that Vulcan was going to come by a certain time. I think they said there was an idea that they might implement it, but I don't think it was ever given as this is when it's going to happen.
Fair enough.
Yeah, just interesting. Like, I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to these things. Like, am I right in thinking that Vulcan is an AMD technology?
That's a good question. It's an open source thing, but you could be right. It could have been started by AMD. Yes. Right.
Okay.
But it will work with everyone, and it's really just an alternative to OpenGL and DirectX.
Just sort of looking at chat here. Channel Right saying proper Fleur heat mapping like an Arma would be great. That is coming.
Yes,
that is coming. We've personally seen the evidence of it because we mucked around in the ED model viewer. But if you look at some of the recent Apache videos, you can actually see little sneaks of it popping in. So proper Fleur is coming. That's and you're right. It is going to be great and it's going to be game changing. It's going to be absolutely supposed to be brilliant.
I hope we have it for the Harrier targeting pod. That would be very, very nice.
Richard Justice is saying Vulcan was supposed to be Q3 this year on the roadmap, and they've pushed it. Yeah.
Not surprising.
Yeah, not surprising. I mean, given that Apache was supposed to be Q3, and unless we get some very big news on Friday, we're rapidly galloping past that. So.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, onwards. The F-16. We've got this really nice article by Stormbirds. Big shout out to Stormbirds again.
This stuff is so good. Let's say, I mean, he we're amateurs. He just pisses over us on his content. If you need really good stuff, go check his page out. He just seems to get really good stuff really early on. So, yeah, just big shout out to Stormbirds.
Absolutely. I really like the website. It was you that pointed it out to me, and I've been reading it ever since. So Viper is going to gain a whole bunch of features, and it's saying here by mid-October, which by my reckoning is in like 2 weeks. So this is all coming very, very soon. And this is some really big items. Air-to-ground radar.
It's possible though, because there's very little has been happening on the F-16 patch-wise for the last wee while, which maybe means they're really, really busy, but they could be saving up. Like, the thing is, because as you know, software development doesn't happen in sequence. It can happen in parallel with features like this. Oh, yeah. So there could be a bunch of stuff that they've had saving up. So, I wouldn't be ready to discount this mid-October date just yet.
Oh no, me neither. I was more reacting sort of with excitement than disbelief.
Yeah.
So yes, air-to-ground radar in ground mapping mode. Stevie B's excited. Harm targeting system and harm attack display. And actually, our man here even includes a picture of the harm targeting system pod, which is really, really cool. Bullseye with indications on the FCR and HSD. That'll be so nice because I can. Maybe I'm special, but if I don't have bullseye information, I can hardly use an aircraft. Addition of the HSD cursor, addition of mark points. Mark points again. I like, one of the things I tend to do is I'll enter an area, mark up all my targets, and then prosecute. So not having mark points in the F-16 has been terrible. New INS/data link system for the AIM-120 sounds really nice. Updated FCR and HSD symbols with color and shape made more accurate. Highly detailed pilot for the cockpit view, that'll be very nice. Smoother cursor control, improved MPD clarity, adjusted RWR detection ranges, flight model adjustments including Command G onset rate, RWS TWS refinements, on-speed AOA airspeed correction, and addition of the HMCS DED page. Notably, they haven't mentioned the cruise page in the DED, and that's like one of my favorite DED pages. I want it.
So, looking at this list, this is basically actually, I mean, it's not to say that the F-16 is not effective in DCS. It is effective. You can use it and you can have some great fun with it. But what this list is doing is really bringing in its roles. Like, I mean, the harm targeting system, that's like, okay, now you are properly a seed aircraft. You've got the ability to prosecute surface-to-air systems. The things like ground mapping radar. Now you're a strike aircraft. Like you can go and find your targets and you can hit stuff. The stuff about with the INS data link for AIM-120, all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, now and when you include the RWS and TWS refinements, it's like, okay, now you're BVR air superiority. So it's really filling in the corners that weren't quite there with the F-16. So it's I think this update is going to bring a lot of things for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. And I was saying in the VAF Discord that I don't fly the F-16 right now. And that's not because I don't like the F-16. I very, very much like the F-16. But each time I get into the aircraft, all of the missing systems, they grate on me a little bit. I'm like, oh, well, back in that other flight simulator, I would do this, then this, and I had this capability, and I could do that.
Yeah.
And to sit in the DCS F-16 is slightly underwhelming, although the things they have implemented are great.
Yeah.
But it's just the bits that are missing.
Yeah, the DCS F-16 at the moment is a little bit neutered. It's not, it's there, but not quite. It's like, oh, you should be able to do this. You should be able to do that. Like as Farah says, data link targeting, game changer. It absolutely is. And like I say, a couple of these things on the list are game changers for people that are into their ground attack, people that are into their seed, people that are into their, air superiority, airquake. So there's something there for everything. This is a big, big update.
Yes.
Plus, like so for example, with the F-18, like when they finally started getting the quality of life features, like the ability to change your displays on the HOTAS like the real aircraft, that kind of really does change how it feels to be in the cockpit of that aircraft, because you're getting the human aircraft integration going on, and some of that stuff is starting to come through here, like Bullseye being one of them, because the reason why if you can't get access to Bullseye you're pretty ineffective is because if you can't get access to Bullseye, you're pretty ineffective, and mark points. Yes. And this stuff is kind of coming through.
This is very much my point of view, because in the battle sphere, when you're communicating with other units, especially units that don't share data link with you, maybe like a Harrier, and then you're going to get bullseye calls, and if you can't actually make use of them, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, you're useless. Yeah, you're useless. I just want to call out something that's just popped up in chat. And then the Apache comes out and the F-16 is forgotten. Hard disagree. the F-16 fan base is rabid.
Yes.
And we brought a lot of BMS people into DCS when the F-16 came out. Admittedly, some of them left because of things that we've talked about with the F-16 still being a bit early access, but they've been keeping an eye on it. That crowd is not going to switch to the Apache.
No.
Not going to happen. But what we're going to see is suddenly when the Apache comes out, we're going to see everybody from Arma who's flying the, I forget what mod it is, it's really good, that basically puts a almost fully featured Apache in Arma. We're going to see them abandon Arma and come to DCS. So the F-16 is going to be a strong, well-used platform going forward. It's not going to be forgotten about. What we're just going to see is a further group of people coming into DCS, which is a great thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And actually, my anecdotal evidence for this as well is in the VAF. There are more people flying the F-16 by far than any other aircraft in the VAF. Like, I could add up all the other airframes, and there's like double that number of people flying the F-16 at the VAF. And I'm sure that that's a situation that's probably mirrored across most online squadrons. Everybody likes the F-16. Actually, I like Richard Justice mentioning the A10C2 is still missing its new radio. Yes, actually, this is something that slightly bothered me as well, because the A10C2 module is brilliant. The stuff they've added to it is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, they've not quite finished it yet, and I would love to see them finish it, because there is some stuff that we're still supposed to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, there's going to be there is, okay, for a few weeks, yeah, there's going to be the, shiny, effect that happens where a new mod comes out and everybody goes and plays it for a couple of weeks. But then they're all going to go back to their love, so I don't see Apache eating into other airframes. Will somebody else mentioned, will we see a slowdown in development speed with the Apache coming out? I don't know, because we don't have any big rumors, do we, after the Apache?
MiG-29, and then after that, they're really just finishing off all the stuff they're already supposed to be doing. Things like Black Shark 3, which is still apparently ongoing. MAC, Modern Air Combat, supposedly still progressing. So, it's not like I'm of the same opinion, like I totally don't care. But, if it brings more people into flight simming, then I think it's a good thing. I'm just not interested in it personally.
I mean, it's my pet theory. Here we go. Here's some uninformed, inaccurate opinion for you. My pet theory is that we've not got any big rumors of stuff coming out of ED after the Apache. Yeah, we've got the MiG-29 and we've got Black Shark 3, but these are kind of existing things. Like the MiG-29 flight model is apparently really accurate. What it's missing is its systems modeling. So they're kind of halfway there. Like Black Shark 3 is really iterating on existing code and adding a fancier cockpit, And
actually,
so they're not
so much of the functionality that originally they were intending to put in Black Shark 3, they can't. Because
they can't.
Because the Russian military will come after them.
Yeah, they've kiboshed it. So I wonder if this is the moment where ED consolidates. Finishes off, like you say, the things that they're they haven't finished off for years, and put some time into the engine. Now, I'll tell you, Tugs just said more World War II stuff. Yes, actually, I think that is kind of going to be where they're going to go, unfortunately. Yeah. And we've spoken about why I think that's unfortunate. But I'll tell you why I think that is because we're seeing things like them talking about Vulcan, talking about showing the new infrared stuff, the new infantry animations. I think that's probably going to be their focus for the next year, because we've got some big modules coming out from third parties. We've got the Mudhen coming. We've got Falklands. Oh Christ, what else? We've got Eurofighter. So it's like the third parties are now starting to come in and put the modules out, and it's giving ED this chance to consolidate and actually improve their engine, which was what the plan was originally supposed to be years back when they opened up to third-party modules, and it didn't happen. And I wonder if we're now at the point where it is actually happening.
Could well be. Could well be. And yes, as you say, the third parties are delivering so much stuff. Typhoon, Mudhen, Mirage F1. All kinds of really cool stuff is on the way.
Yeah. But right, okay, so Richard Justice has said, ED is a company in a niche market. They need to release new modules to keep making money. I wouldn't expect them to not release anything, except they don't. They don't need to, because they're licensing.
Yeah.
So they're making their money from licensing third parties, not to mention the massive military contracts that they have.
Yeah.
Like, the civilian side of what ED does is like, whatever. Okay, maybe not quite whatever, but, it's not their only income. They make a massive amount of money out of the military. So, and then if they're relying on third parties to actually release the content, to release these modules, they're getting income from them because they're entering into a license agreement, which gives them, a slice of that pie every time they sell a module, without having to actually develop anything or spend time on it. That's really good business right there. So, it almost begs the question is, why the hell would they release a module? The amount of time that it takes to make one.
That has always been the case, and that's why you kind of after around about 2000 or whenever it was, whenever you consider the peak of flight simming to have been, there was this drop, because so many of the games companies looked at it and they were like, this is huge amounts of work. Like, if you look at Falcon 4, how many years did it take them to make Falcon 4? And and they don't make enough money out of it.
Yeah. The thing is, okay. So Richard's responding in chat. They only get a cut of third-party stuff. They get 100% of their in-house stuff. Yes, completely true. But how many man-hours do they spend on producing that in-house stuff? How much does that cost? How much does it cost in salary? How much does it cost in development? How much does it take away from actually developing their engine and stopping it becoming a static piece of nonsense, which is what it almost became? And it's only that they've now started to unblock it since sort of, about 2.5, that things are starting to move. So yeah, again, it begs the question, why the hell would they develop their own modules? And that's why they opened it up to third parties. I think it's the only reason they opened it up to third parties. And they haven't really properly started utilizing it until now, because they had, let's face it, they've had some false starts with third parties, but I think we're now getting to a core.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. Sorry. 2022 and beyond video will be a thing that shows if they're shifting to the core game stuff or releasing a new fancy module. Yes, I agree. I agree. Whilst I've disagreed with some of the things that Richard has said, at this point I can agree. We will know what happens the next year. But I think the focus is going to be on shifting to their core game, because we're starting to see little hints of it. The stuff that they're doing in World War II, for better or worse, is adding new stuff to the engine that we're starting to see come over to our side of things. So yeah. But yeah, I have a feeling more World War II stuff might be coming, for God's sake.
And I'm going to revoice the want that I've voiced on numerous occasions. I really want to see data cards coming to the aircraft that support them. The F-16 and F-18, you can never fully simulate them without the ability for that kind of mission planning and loading stuff into your data cartridge and plugging it in.
Do you know what? Actually, I think that leads into a wider discussion about mission planning and the environment outside of the cockpit in DCS. I'm going to go out there and say it's trash, and they need to really look at it.
Yes.
The mission editor. Oh, where do we start? It's got better. It has.
Better.
It has got significantly better, but it's still built upon the same mission editor and the same way of doing things since what, Flanker?
Yes, Flanker 2, I would say, is kind of the genesis of this mission editor.
And it's really bad. Like, it's really bad. It's unintuitive. It doesn't have proper features. It's, I mean, if that is their tool for mission development, oh God, poor in-house mission guys, because it relies on so much third-party stuff like Moose to be able, to actually get it to do something approaching a modern environment.
Yes. And especially with the AI, like the extra AI routines that you get through Moose allow you to make far more engaging scenarios than what the standard AI can do.
I mean, like, I will go back to that game there, Tornado, which was released in what, 1993?
Something like that.
That had a better mission editor than what we've got in DCS. In terms of what you could do with time on target, it would calculate if you had like for example, it could calculate flight paths taking into account your speed and your turn radius and all that kind of stuff, so you could properly thread the needle. Like, you can't do any of that in the DCS mission editor. And not only that, it gave you much more of a sense of, the mission editor was part of the game in that it made you feel that you were sitting in a squadron building planning your mission. Yes. Whereas the DCS backend, and I know it's not important, but it just feels really, really sterile, and it feels totally divorced from the experience. And for a long time it was, because if people remember way back when, it used to be an entirely different program, and when you launched into the sim,
yes,
it actually shut it down and opened up a new executable. So I think like mission cards and all that kind of stuff, absolutely, but they just need to really examine the back end of, when you launch DCS, what is that experience? How do you plan a mission? I, for one, would love to see mission planning being part of the challenge.
Yes.
Now, we've in the VAF, we've talked about doing this using combat flight, where we set up a scenario.
I was waiting to see if you were going to go there.
Yeah. We set up a scenario, and part of the challenge for the squadron leads is to develop a response to that scenario. You can't really do that in DCS. You can set up a dynamic battlefield generator, but it's rubbish. Yeah. Because if you develop a challenge, the solution because you've developed the goals, right? What I would love to see in DCS is where it goes, here's a tactical problem. There's a command and control center here. It's protected by this and this and this and this asset. Go plan your attack and fly it. You can't do that unless you're using third-party stuff, where, somebody else has kind of created the skeleton of a scenario, and I've not seen much of that. But I think that would be a great step, like these battlefield problems, as it is, where you've got like this scenario, and your role as a flight lead is to go, I'm going to plan this attack, I'm going to use these assets, I'm going to approach it from this, in this manner, and then you go and fly it, and you see how good your tactical thinking was. You can't do that in DCS.
I want to just absolutely echo everything you've just said, because this is a really big want of mine as well. I've even looked at ways of sort of exporting a skeletonized version of the mission, putting it into combat flight, and trying to do like each flight lead plans their own mission. And there are probably ways of doing that, but it's very, very hard to then recombine, each flight's plan with the original mission template. It's just so difficult to achieve.
Yeah, because to my mind, from everything that I have read, and admittedly, a lot of the sort of combat biographies that I've read have been from the Royal Air Force perspective. But I am assuming that in other NATO countries it's the same. But planning the mission is probably about 80 to 90% of the work. Like, the actually flying the mission and doing the thing is like the last little 10%. And we're missing all of that. Now, I mean, yeah, where does it stop? It's like, oh, what are you saying? We've got to go and fill in the maintenance acceptance form and all that kind of stuff. No. Like, I get it. There's a limit. But it would be really nice to have some of those aspects of having to employ your tactical thinking before the mission, and then running that scenario.
Even in the civilian world, I'm a private pilot, and like all the planning that I do before doing even the most basic flight, and that, so much of the decision making, calculations and planning is done before you get anywhere near the aircraft. Because once you're inside the aircraft, you do not have the bandwidth. You're not making, on the fly decisions while also trying to fly the aircraft. That's not the way it works. So you've considered everything beforehand. Yeah,
and it's not there, and I get it. Do you know what? It's not going to be for everyone. Like, I completely understand that, but it's a feature that's missing for those that do want it, and I think it's a big part of what actually the life of a combat pilot is. And we've not got access to it.
A solution, and if I could propose a solution, and it's something that I know Razbam are actually already looking at, integrate combat flight. Don't bother doing it yourselves, because combat flight is already there. It already has all the functionality you would want, and it's actually used by some, I don't even know which, but it's used by some militaries for their training. Integrate combat flight. Make it easier for us to develop, plans in combat flight and import them into DCS directly.
Yeah. Like I say, we've looked at it in the VAF about being able to use combat flight as a planning tool for scenarios presented to pilots, but it is a little bit of a faff. Like, let's face it, to be able to export it out to combat flight for the squadron leaders to then be able to plan to create their tactical plan and then give it back, remerge it, and load it onto the server. It's a bit like. Okay,
I'm actually I'm at the point now where I'm looking at like the kind of merge tools that we use for source control at my work. So like where you would basically treat the mission files like their source code, and then do merging of the files into one. And I actually think that would work, but it would take a lot of fiddling.
Yeah, it's something that needs to happen, and
Phil,
to then have.
Phil just made a really good point there as well about TAC view being a great way for debriefing, which I totally agree with. TAC view is excellent.
Yeah, but he has said it's also the fact that you have to pay for it. Which is like. He's not wrong. I mean, TACView is brilliant. I'm not knocking TACView, and I mean, I know it's used in military, in the military as well. But it's something that kind of, I think, should be, should be in the sim. It feels like it's left out.
It was in Falcon 4. Falcon 4 effectively had something that looked just like TACView. And it was apparently based on ACMI, which is the US Air Force's actual debriefing tool.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's saying, briefing and debriefing, it's missing. And the thing is that the briefing and the debriefing is where you actually improve.
Yeah.
You don't improve when you are flying about doing your thing. That's not where you improve. Where you improve is in a proper debriefing and lessons learned, holding yourself accountable for the mistakes that you made, and then knowing what you've got to work on. That's where you improve. Now, you can do that on your own, totally. But, like, if there were the tools there, I think it would be better. But let's face it, these are things that are useful for multiplayer.
Yes.
And we are a small percentage of the user base.
Perhaps. That may be the case. Although I can see applications for all of this in single player as well. But it's even more useful in multiplayer.
Yeah. But I still think, multiplayer or single player, being able to plan a tactical response to a scenario would be an awesome thing, even in single player.
Yes.
It's rather than kind of, okay, here's your waypoints that have been pre-planned for you, go fly it. You're just there's not really much going on there other than just monkey see, monkey do. It's as part of being in a combat squadron is to approach a tactical solution. So there we go. That's my 2 farthings worth.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. So, that was pretty much it for this week. It's not been a big news week. I'm glad that we were able to have this discussion about briefing and debriefing, because that was at least something exciting to have a conversation about and to share with you fantastic people in chat. I'm just quickly taking a little look and see what they're saying, actually.
Yeah, well, Richard Justice making a valid point here. Maybe dynamic campaign will make ED realize the importance of these things. I pretty much think that's exactly what's going to happen. I can't imagine the dynamic campaign is going to create mission solutions as it updates the scenario. I can't see how it can do that. It might, but yeah, I think maybe the dynamic campaign might give us these kinds of things.
Here's hoping. Cool. Alrighty.
So yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting for my kit to arrive. So yeah, I got my collective, I got my pedals. It's all very, very nice. I'm getting ready for Apache coming. What I don't have is all the mounting kit to attach it to my bloody chair.
Hopefully that's coming to you soon, and then we can start trying it out. If you want to do any flying in the Gazelle, just let me know, and we can pretend it's not Apache.
well, right now, like, I can control my collective like
this. Yes,
that. It's like, okay, let's go.
Hopefully soon.
Until Monster Tech sort their stuff out.
Cool.
Yappy Dog's asking, twist grip throttle, or did you save $100? I saved 100 British pounds by not taking the throttle.
Yes, quite right.
Because yes, it's effective in the Huey, but I can bind it to something else. It's like, I believe in spending money to solve problems. And for me, 100 quid is a bit much to solve the problem of I need to turn a throttle.
Yeah, exactly. Especially given that with a modern helicopter, you do that once or twice per flight.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I did sort of discuss it around the squadron with Frantic and Shadows, who both also have the system. And the opinion was just don't bother. It's cool, it's nice, I think. Do you know what? I think if you were using it in something like Flight Sim, Microsoft Flight Sim, which is going to be sort of getting a helicopter update in the near future, where you were perhaps flying like a lot of civilian helicopters and a lot of things that were piston helicopters where throttle was a bigger deal. I can see why. I can see why you can spend it, but it's going to only get used in DCS for me, so I just don't see the point.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
What about yourself? Any new kit purchases for you coming up?
No, the most recent thing for me was those Virpil rudder pedals, which are super good. They're the same ones that you've purchased. I'm not intending to buy anything more anytime soon, because I have everything that I need to fly the type of aircraft that I fly. So yeah, I think I'm good. So no plans. I'm going to stick with what I've got. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okie doke.
So next week there'll be another JF-17 video, and it seems that chat has spoken, and they actually want to see the radar in action rather than me dropping bombs. So that will come later. I'll demonstrate the ground mapping radar next week, which should be kind of fun. And that's a feature that will be coming to the F-16 shortly thereafter. So, of course, I will be updating my F-16 tutorials with the new features that come to the F-16 as they do. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, apart from that...
Sorry, I'm just looking at something in chat, and my response to that was, yes, I'm looking for a unicorn that shits gold bricks.
A 3090, eh?
A 3090 at MSRP for anyone that has one around. Yeah, no.
No, not likely to happen anytime too soon.
No.
Sadly. But yes, and also, of course, every Saturday I do a new tutorial premiere, just like I've done today, followed by the DCS news with myself and this fine gentleman here. Can I do my pointing? There's the pointing.
Yeah. Oh, you got it right. Well done.
And sometimes during the week, I'm also doing a little bit of Tarkov on the stream, so check out for that. And of course, dotChuckles has a channel on Twitch. Please follow him and check out his content. And then we're going to do our usual and do a little shout out for the Virtual Air Force. If you look down below in the description for this stream, you'll see a link to the VAF Discord. If you have any interest in flying with like-minded people, then go ahead, jump on there, give us a shout.
And that is really kind of picking up momentum.
Yes.
We've got two active squadrons now within it, flying the F-16 and the Harrier. And we now, I think we're reaching perhaps a critical mass to launch the F-18 very soon.
Yes.
Yeah, we're maybe not quite there, but I think an SME that has enough knowledge to lead the F-18 squadron, I think, has been the limiting factor. But certainly we're almost there. Our intention when Apache comes out is to definitely add that into the mix.
Oh yes.
And I think we've got about 100 people on the Discord now. Obviously, not everybody's active, but we've got a good number of people who are, active and chatting and creating a really nice, friendly environment. So if that's the kind of place that you feel like you might want to come along to, then definitely check the link down below and come and join us.
Please do so. Yes, but that's pretty much it for this week, chat. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us for our ramble through the news of the week with regards to DCS and flight simming. Fly safe. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. It's a really big help. And we'll see you all next time. Ta-ta.